Hello and welcome back to another episode of Melf's Musings. I'm Ken Horowitz from Sega16.com, and today we're going to be looking at an interesting development regarding Sega Genesis software. The company Cinemaware, which used to make games for computers back in the 80s and 90s, has partnered with Watermelon Games, which you might remember made the excellent RPG Pier Solar a couple of years ago, and the two of them together are going to be releasing It Came from the Desert, which was a game that was supposed to come out in 1990, but was canceled. Now, Cinemaware made the ROM for the game available as freeware from its website several years ago, but the game was practically ready to ship. There were still some bug fixes and things that had to be done, but the game was 100% complete. Repro carts have been made available of this game for several years now as well. But this is the first time that an actual officially licensed release is going to happen. And Watermelon, I presume, is going to be working with the packaging. If they use clamshells, anything like they did for the second version of Pure Solar, then you're going to get an excellent product. The game's website, Cinemaware's website, has a link to it, and that'll be in the description of this video below. Actually shows a picture of the prototype of what it'll look like, with full color manual, cartridge with glossy full color label, and a pretty good looking clamshell case, although the box art is tentative. So we're going to be looking at an official release, but it's not just a case of slapping a ROM onto a cartridge and releasing it. Cinemaware and Watermelon are going to be working together to improve the game and clean it up, get those bug fixes out, but they're also hoping to make improvements. For example, one of the things that It Came from the Desert on Genesis is notorious for is its very high difficulty level. The game is extremely unforgiving in some cases, and they plan to adjust that to make it a little bit more friendly. They also want to make other things, adjustments and additions to the game, like new graphics and cutscenes, hopefully improve the color palette, maybe a new intro. But supposedly, according to Daniel Horvath of Watermelon on the Sega 16 forums, he mentioned that the coder that they had, who supposedly had the source code, because the source code to this game was supposedly lost or misplaced, or nobody knows what happened to it, and so the person who supposedly had a copy of that source code and was going to work on the game kind of backed out. So they have to find a new coder, and they have to hack and to be able to implement these changes, so they might not be able to make all the changes they want. At the very least, though, they do plan to give it a new title screen, a new intro, and of course new company logos, as well as bug fixes and giving it a physical format that's actually licensed by Cinemaware. Now, this is an important release, I would think, because contrary to other releases that we've seen, because now with this, we've actually seen, I think, probably the whole gamut of probable types of releases you can have on the Genesis. We've had repro carts that are basically very, very well made bootlegs. We've had original homebrew games like Pure Solar, and we've had localized games that came out on the Mega Drive in other territories but never actually came out on the Genesis. Now we're actually seeing a game that was canceled and is actually coming back. You know, this is a game that was never ever released at all, but is actually coming back with the license of the original developer. So hopefully this could mean that we could get licensed versions of maybe Rescue and a couple of other games that were shelved, Fido Dido, who knows? I mean, there might actually be a viable avenue for Watermelon and maybe Super Fighter Team or other companies to go and actually seek out these licenses and actually have these games released, because I would think that Cinemaware has nothing to lose. I mean, if the game was made available as freeware on its website, then they have nothing to lose by having a physical release that actually generates them royalties, right? So hopefully we'll see a little bit more of this. I'm glad that this kind of thing is being done, and I applaud Watermelon for the effort. I know they're going to make a quality product. Pure Solar was an incredibly high quality physical product that was instantly collectible, and I know that they're going to do the game justice in that regard. I just hope that they're able to make all the changes that they want, because the improved ROM would be very, very, very good to see. It would be nice to see that the game doesn't just get touched up and get a facelift, but they actually make all the improvements that Cinemaware wanted to. This is why it is so important, I think, for companies to hold on to their source code. I mean, I don't know what happened. I don't know what the situation was. I doubt anyone threw it away or deleted it or whatever, sat on the keyboard and formatted whatever the machine. I don't think it was anything that was done purposely, but when I hear stories like this, it just breaks my heart. It's like Panzer Dragoon Saga. You know, Sega supposedly can't port the game over because they lost the source code. How do you lose a source code to your game? How do you lose source code to something you create, you know, and that's a product that you know you can release later on in the future? And if I were a developer and I'm thinking about, hey, you know, maybe we could release this game, we could port it to a modern console, touch it up, give it new graphics, and then, you know, my boss comes and say, oh, I'm sorry, we lost the source code. That would be, you know, that would break my heart. Literally, that would break my heart. So hopefully this will be a good example of a game that everyone thought there was no chance of it ever coming out on cartridge, except for the repro carts that just include the ROM with all its errors and brutal difficulty and everything, and it'll show that now, no, actually we can go and improve these and make them the kind of product that people want, you know, that are willing to buy, and that we can actually improve them and bring them up to the standards that they had when, you know, that they would have had when they were to originally have been released. At least this way we're getting the game. You know, I'm going to buy it, absolutely going to buy it, because I want to support this kind of thing. This is official, this is licensed. Cinemaware is doing a great service to the Genesis community, really being awesome like this and giving us the opportunity to play the game on the hardware as originally intended. Watermelon's doing a great service by actually taking the time to make this happen, and I hope that other companies and other people follow their lead, and I hope that this is the first of many, many games that we see in this type of release. So please remember to thumbs up the video, subscribe if you haven't already, leave your comments down below, give us your thoughts, head on over to Sega16.com, check out our reviews, features, and interviews, join the community on the forums if you haven't, and until next time, take care.